A revived Hurricane Ian made landfall on coastal South Carolina on Friday, threatening the historic city of Charleston with severe flooding after the deadly storm caused catastrophic damage in Florida and trapped thousands in their homes. Ian's center came ashore near Georgetown with much weaker winds than when it crossed Florida's Gulf Coast on Wednesday as one of the strongest storms to ever hit the U.S. Sheets of rain whipped trees and power lines and left many areas on Charleston's downtown peninsula underwater. Sections of piers at North Myrtle Beach and Pawleys Island collapsed into the churning waves and washed away. Read more: Ukraine submitting accelerated application to join NATO. This is a dangerous storm that will bring high winds and a lot of water, South Carolina Gov. Henry McMaster tweeted, "Be smart, make good decisions, check on your loved ones, and stay safe." Read more: Putin illegally annexes Ukrainian regions as part of Russia. Hurricane warning has been issued from the Savannah River at the Georgia-South Carolina state line to Cape Fear, North Carolina. Considerable flooding is possible from seawater and rain, especially in parts of coastal South Carolina, where storm surge up to 200 centimeters of rain could hit, forecasters say. And a tornado watch covering nearly 5 million people is in effect until 10 p.m. ET, 12 p.m. Saturday Est, for parts of the Carolinas and Virginia, including Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, Norfolk, and Virginia Beach, according to the Storm Prediction Center. More than 211,000 power outages were reported in South Carolina, as well as more than 82,000 in North Carolina, by 3:50 p.m. ET, 5:50 a.m. Saturday Est, according to power outage data. In South Carolina, Charleston International Airport's airfield closed Friday because of high winds, the airport said. And Myrtle Beach residents are urged to stay inside during the storm, Mayor Brenda Baytoun told CNN. "It's a pretty scary sight," Baytoun said of Hurricane Ian. "I'm seeing way too many cars passing by. And I think people just don't realize how dangerous it is to be out in these types of conditions. We've seen so many people's cars get stuck and emergency personnel has to go out and rescue people." As Ian moved away from Florida, governors in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia and Virginia declared emergencies. In North Carolina, Governor Roy Cooper urged residents to prepare for torrents of rain, high winds and potential power outages. The storm likely will have left behind lasting changes to Atlantic landscapes. Coastlines along Georgia and South Carolina may sustain significant alterations because the powerful waves and storm surges brought by Ian could inundate coastal sand dunes, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. In addition to flooding communities behind the dunes, the storm may push sand back and deposit it inland, which could reduce the height of protective sand dunes, alter beach profiles and leave areas behind the dunes more vulnerable to future storms, the agency said. Florida left with swath of destruction. Meanwhile, Florida confronts the dizzying destruction Ian wrought through much of the peninsula Wednesday and Thursday after it smashed into the southwest coast as a Category 4 storm and plowed through central and northeastern areas. At least 25 deaths have been reported in the state. Homes on the coast were washed out to sea, buildings were smashed throughout the state, and floodwater ruined homes and businesses and trapped residents, even inland in places like the Orlando area. Roger Desjardins, manager of Lee County, which encompasses Fort Myers, told CNN Friday that it isn't an overstatement to say that Hurricane Ian decimated parts of the area and there has to be many fatalities. "It looked as though someone had just dropped from the sky, picked up hotels and buildings and took them away. So much so that in many places there wasn't even debris," Desjardins said. "We also know that not as many people evacuated from those islands as we had hoped for. We know there has to be many fatalities yet to be accounted for." Rescue crews piloted boats and waded through riverine streets Thursday to save thousands of people trapped amid flooded homes and buildings shattered by the hurricane. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said Friday that rescue crews had gone door to door to over 3,000 homes in the hardest hit areas. "There's really been a Herculean effort," he said during a news conference in Tallahassee. And now, the storm's aftermath poses new, deadly dangers of its own. Some standing water is electrified, officials warned, while maneuvering through debris-strewn buildings and streets, many without working traffic signals, risks injury. Lack of air conditioning can lead to heat illness, and improper generator use can cause carbon monoxide poisoning. Those killed in Florida included a 67-year-old man who was waiting to be rescued and fell into rising water inside his New Smyrna Beach home late Thursday, the Volusia County Sheriff's Office said. Patrol vehicles had been unable to reach him because roads were flooded. At least 3 people were reported killed in Cuba after the hurricane struck there on Tuesday. In the Fort Myers area, businesses near the beach were completely razed, leaving twisted debris. Broken docks floated at odd angles beside damaged boats. Fires smoldered on lots where houses once stood. "I don't know how anyone could have survived in there," William Goodison said amid the wreckage of a mobile home park in Fort Myers Beach where he had lived for 11 years. Goodison said he was alive only because he rode out the storm at his son's house inland. The hurricane tore through the park of about 60 homes, leaving many destroyed or mangled beyond repair, including Goodison's single-wide home. Wading through waist-deep water, Goodison and his son wheeled 2 trash cans containing what little he could salvage, a portable air conditioner, some tools and a baseball bat. The road into Fort Myers was littered with broken trees, boat trailers and other debris. Cars were abandoned in the road, having stalled when the storm surge flooded their engines. Emergency crews sawed through toppled trees to reach stranded people. Many in the hardest-hit areas were unable to call for help because of electrical and cellular outages. A helicopter flight over Fort Myers Beach shows utter devastation, empty or debris-littered lots where homes and businesses used to be and boats tossed into mangroves. You're talking about no structure left. You're talking about homes that were thrown into the bay. This is a long-term fix, and it's life-changing, Lee County Sheriff Carmen Marciano said. A chunk of the Sanibel Causeway fell into the sea, cutting off access to the barrier island where 6,300 people live. Record flooding was recorded across central and northern Florida, including at least 3 rivers that hit all-time flood records hours after weakening to a tropical storm while crossing the Florida peninsula. Ian regained strength Thursday evening over the Atlantic. The National Hurricane Center predicted it would hit South Carolina as a Category 1 hurricane Friday, still much weaker than the Category 4 hurricane it was on Wednesday. National Guard troops were being positioned in South Carolina to help with the aftermath, including any water rescues. And in Washington, President Joe Biden approved an emergency declaration for the state, a needed step to speed federal assistance.